All right, well, we got a lot going on in the world of sports. We got the Final Four in basketball coming up. We got the Frozen Four in college hockey. And by the way, both Michigan teams for basketball and hockey are in the Final Four. Kudos to Michigan. You got the NHL coming down. You got baseball just starting to about a week away, maybe less than a week away from the opening of the regular season. All the teams are doing Moneyball moves. There's still a big body of free agents sitting out there. There's been some big signings. You Darvish Twins did a lot of Moneyball stuff. The world of football, there's free agency and big trades going on all the time and people being cut. And Washington just made another trade today, send their safety to another team. To, I think, San Francisco. Well, I'll cut that out. I don't know where he went. Anyways, he's glad to be going. The Jets and the Colts make a big trade. The Vikings sign, Kirk Cousins for a boatload of money. All of our quarterbacks dispersed. The Jets are going crazy. The Browns are going crazy. Ndamukong Suh just signed. He just signed with Crape. Who did he sign with? The Rams. Yeah, Ndamukong Suh just signed with the Rams. Arnold Donald might be another fearsome foursome going on. Stuff is going crazy. But I want to focus on tennis. And then I might mention a little bit about table tennis. But tennis, in the world of tennis, Roger Federer just got knocked out of the Miami Open, which is going on right now. A week ago, he lost in the final match to Del Potro, Juan Martín Del Potro from Argentina, in a 3-set thriller in a tiebreak. Federer had him down 3 match points. Del Potro came back, tied it up, won it in overtime. Same thing kind of happened here in the Miami Open. He got a bye in the first round, lost in the second round to an up-and-coming Australian. I can't say his name very well. Thanos Kanakas. I'm going to practice that name, but I'm butchering it, and I apologize. But the kid's phenomenal. But I've noticed a trend with Federer. He's now announced he's not going to be playing in the clay court season, skipping the French Open. He wants that number 21 Grand Slam in Wimbledon. But I think one of the things he's working on, my conspiracy theory, is he's up against these young punks, if you will, led kind of by Del Potro, who's a little bit older than a young punk, but these are heavy hitters. And I'm going back to last year's U.S. Open against Francis Tiafoe, the American, and he's got the same thing in common with this Kanakas kid, and even with Del Potro. And before that, it was Borna Coric, where Federer was in the Indian Wells, was down for the count, had to make a comeback and played defensive, very defensive, and kept the ball and did enough to win. Zverev, Kyrgios, those guys, that whole group. I'll even throw, even though he's older, I'll throw Kevin Anderson, but I'm really thinking of the young and up-and-comers. These kids, if you will, are heavy hitters. They murder the forehand. They murder the backhand. They clocked Del Potro's forehand at up over 100 miles an hour, and his backhand is coming back. He's recovered from his wrist surgeries. That sucker's probably 100 miles an hour. I bet you if you go right down the list, Coric, Kyrgios, Tiafoe, all those guys, this Kanakas guy who's had a lot of injuries and coming back, they have blistering, high-speed, massive forehands and backhands with massive spin. Now, Del Potro hits a flat ball, but these other guys add spin. And you know what? Federer ends up being on the defensive. He doesn't come to the net. Against Cornic, he didn't ever come to the net. He was on defense the whole time. These aggressive players who get the ball in with speed put him on the defensive. And I'll bet you in Dubai, where he has his practice court, he and his coach, they're probably talking about, this is what's happening. These close ones, these guys are aggressive. They're getting them in. They're hitting them 100 miles an hour. On the ground strokes, we haven't even talked about the serve. Most of these guys got these booming serves. I'm having trouble. I'm losing the close ones. They're forcing me making dumb, unforced errors, but really it's probably because when you're trying to hit a 100-mile-an-hour forehand back, you might be forced into some errors, add on to the serve and the backhand and the spin on top of that. That's my theory going down the road here. I bet he's working on it. He's like, I'm not going to take it from these young punks. But let's shift over now. I mentioned my conspiracy theory in tennis. I want to shift over to table tennis. The Germans are near the top of the world rankings. Timo Boll has reclaimed the world #1 spot, which he only held briefly, like in the 2000s. He's 36 like Federer, and he's been injured like Federer. He took some time off like Federer, got his game back like Federer. Before that, Ovtcharov, who's 29, another fellow German, was just killing it in 2017 and early 2018. The Chinese, who've been dominating for 50, 60 years, are in second place, fourth place, seventh place. Ma Long, who's won everything under the sun, the table tennis Grand Slam a couple times over, he's down in seventh place. Fan Zhendong, he's like number 2. But these Germans are beating them, and the Japanese are catching up. Mitsuani, Niwa, Hiramoto, all those guys. And guess what? Tokyo is just 2 years away, the Summer Olympics. The Japanese want to do well. What's been happening is the Germans, the Westerners, the Japanese, even the South Koreans are catching on to the Chinese method of training, which has been secretive and highly effective. It's a boot camp type training. They just practice the fundamentals. They're hanging on to some of those training methods, and they are catching up. We are seeing parity. The Chinese have been in turmoil, change in coach, change in leadership, some rebellion going on. We'll see what happens down the road. The Chinese don't want to give up their number 1 spot, their domination, and they won't put up with it. So these next couple of years, especially the Olympics in Tokyo, are going to be interesting.